Let's start with our essay lecture. So yesterday we have discussed broadly about what all should be done while writing essays, while approaching essays, what all should not be done. We have tried to understand bit structuring and all. Today what we will do is, first I'll discuss one philosophical essay. Okay, then I'll discuss few other essays and how you can just understand the meaning, or at least try to understand the basic meaning of essays. And then we'll focus more on the structuring part, because structuring is something that I consider as one of the most important thing. If you can structure an essay, if you can interpret it rightly, if you can structure it rightly, more or less you're scoring decent. Now remains the role of flow, and then this whatever flowering part or this value addition part, or to make the presentation better, that part. Okay, so as far as introduction, conclusion, that part is concerned, I'll try to cover that portion tomorrow. Okay, today mostly we'll focus on structuring part. Okay, so let's start with one essay theme called as "Not all who wander are lost." Okay, this was asked I think in 2023, right? And it's a very good essay to write. Okay, last time also I said some themes are very easy to write if you can just interpret it rightly. Now understand how I will be looking at this essay. I assume you people do not have any background of philosophy or any idea about philosophy. But still, when you are getting philosophical essay, that doesn't mean you actually need background. You just need to use common sense, and you just need to break that entire statement. Look at that word, that keyword, which is defining the entire meaning of this core theme or this entire quote. So let's say you're not in a position to understand what does this mean by "not all who wander are lost." Remove not and look at the statement. If you can understand it, try that part. Even if you do not understand by this, look at the keyword which is defining the meaning. Here, if you see this word wandering, wander. You see, when you read this essay, this quote, "Not all who wander are lost." The main keyword over here is wander. The meaning of this entire essay depends on wander. Whatever you can interpret when it comes to this word, that is going to define your entire essay, right? So focus on this word to understand the meaning. If you're not able to comprehend the meaning of quote, try to understand the meaning of at least one keyword. And how will you understand? Simply try to understand the basic meaning. Don't get into philosophy, but at least can you look at the dictionary meaning? Dictionary meaning of this word wander. Can you think about it? Just tell me, what do you mean by wandering? Basic meaning. A person who is wandering. That means what's happening with this person exactly? Yes, Gauri? When we say a person is wandering, searching something, okay, rather what I'll say is, a person started from a location A and he said that he is going to this location B. Okay, now he's on his path. There is a purpose that he wants to go to this particular place called B, and he started from here, and this is the path, right? But what happens? Once he started going, before reaching this place B, he said that he'll go to place C. In between, let's say he said he'll go to place D. So what's happening exactly? This person is changing his purpose, or he's changing his path. Here the path has been changed, or here his purpose has also got changed. So look at this. When I say a person is wandering, that means he is a person who is changing either his purpose or his path. Any one of them, or maybe both of them. He's changing that thing, right? And look at this person. Such a person seems to us as an aimless person. Am I thinking logically? Do I need any extra knowledge to think this part? No. With just common sense and just trying to look at the meaning of this word, I'm getting into this part. That when I say someone is wandering, I see his purpose or path is changing, and he seems to me it seems he's an aimless person. He doesn't have a fixed purpose in mind. He just keeps on changing. As you said, searching something. So he keeps on searching. What is the final purpose, or which path should I go ahead with? Right? So we understand this meaning, that this is what wander simply means. Right? Now you have got the meaning of this one keyword. Now do one thing. Remove this term not from this essay. Remove it. And read this essay. Now, all who wander are lost. I repeat, all who wander are lost. That means those people who are changing their path or changing their purpose again and again in life, they are lost. Now, when I say lost, don't you think it is equivalent to failure? And don't you think, can you look at this statement? This is an extreme statement wherein we see a societal perception. Normally in society, you see, whatever society thinks as the right path to go ahead with. Let's say, you say, I want to follow my passion, I want to explore things. What will society say? You are an aimless person, you have no clarity on life, nothing. You should just do engineering, or you should just do medicine and do this. They know all these things. Now, this is just one example. Look at things in a broad dimension. You will understand that it is a general perception. It is a general perception that any person who goes for an unpredictable path you can say, or goes for a journey wherein exploration is taking place, wherein you're changing your purpose or path, such a person will be looked as a failure by the society. Because for them, what are you doing? You're wasting your time, where you're wasting all your energy. So for this society, or for ignorant people, this person seems to be lost person. That means this person for them is a failure. He can't do anything. He's lost in his dreams. He's lost in his thoughts. Useless. Can you think about this part now? Yes? Think about this dimension. If you are a UPSC aspirant, let's say you started with engineering, then you decided you'll do MBA, then you decided that I'll do UPSC. Now see, this person is changing the path, changing the purpose, everything. Again and again. How society will look at it? What is this person doing? He's not clear. Maybe even after preparing for UPSC, now you are trying to become an actor in the Bollywood industry. What are you doing? You're changing your path and you're changing your purpose. Both things you're doing right now. How does the society, or normally people will look at it? What will be the general perception? That general perception will be, you are a lost person. Are we reaching here? Have we reached to this stage to understand at least this part of the essay theme? Or do you have any doubt? Yes, Darshan? Any doubt? No? Okay. Now, if you have reached at least till this part, all who wander are lost. Now, see the author's perspective. Author is actually, what he is trying to do, he is trying to dilute this extreme statement. Or rather, I should call, instead of extreme statement, he is trying to dilute an ignorant statement. Okay, when you are making this statement, all who wander are lost, that's an ignorant statement, that's incomplete, or your understanding is very limited when you look at things this way. Okay, an enlightened person will not look at things this way. Even if someone is aimless, An enlightened person will not call that person as a lost person. Okay, he'll look at it differently. So understand this thing, what author is trying to do. He's diluting it and he is saying, sir, it is not necessary that all who are wandering, all who are changing their path, changing their purpose, they are not failures, sir. They are also successful. They can be successful. Just wait, look at them. So this is the core idea of the author. Okay. Now I hope you can understand what the author is saying and try to use such methods. In case you're not able to comprehend the meaning of essay, you're not able to interpret it, try to look at such keywords, then or just break the sentence like this, look at the keyword, try to grab the meaning. What we did, we just went in a logical manner and we have got the meaning. Now we don't have any confusion as far as the meaning or the interpretation of this essay is concerned. Clear? Now see, as far as content part is concerned. Now when you start writing this essay, if you're starting with the introduction and all, I'll tell you one interesting introduction at the end. But generally, you can think about this aspect that you can start with the process of wandering. You can discuss what is wandering. What do you mean by wandering exactly? How it actually takes place. You can talk about this dimension. And then you can talk about this negative dimension of wandering, which is the general perception. So generally when you say wanderers are lost, so you show this part. People changing career, you talk about philosophers. Or you talk about people who are continuously asking questions. They are wandering in the ideas. You see what many philosophers do, or many philosophers ask. They keep on asking some questions. They are wandering in the thoughts. Continuously they are questioning, who am I, what am I supposed to do, what is life? So many questions, right? They are wandering. Then we have problem with some daydreamers. There are some people whom we call daydreamers. They keep on thinking, overthinking. Or maybe they are in the world of ideas. They are in the world of ideas which are imagined by them, and in reality, those are not executed as such. Can you think of someone who seems to be a daydreamer, or who seems to be a person who is just into his ideal world, who is thinking about ideas, but in reality, he fails to implement it? Yes, I can think about someone. Let's say I can talk about one person from history, Tughlaq, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So I got the example from my history subject, right? Now think about it. When you look at Tughlaq, what it seems? He is a person who is in his world of ideas. He seems to me as a wanderer, right? And what the society did to him, or his own riyasat or his own subjects, what they call him is, he's a madman, he's a mad king. Mad king because he was in his ideal world. He had some ideas. He failed to implement that. That's a different thing. That's a different story altogether. But that's where you can look at this dimension, that can you really call him a lost person? Society called him a lost person. This is for sure. But is he really a lost person? This is where you can take this essay. Apart from that, let's say you're discussing this dimension wherein wandering as negative that you have discussed. Now you can look at wandering as a positive dimension. If you can bring it in flow, you started with process of wandering, then you reach to that negative dimension, which is the general perception, to show the lost case. Now you reach to the positive dimensions. No sir, this is what author is saying. So you're reaching to this dimension, which is the dimension which author is trying to say. That no sir, wandering is a good thing. Sometimes wandering doesn't really mean being lost, rather you gain something. For example, you talk about life of Buddha. Think about life of Buddha. He tried many different methods. He has gone for some extreme methods. He tried many different stuffs, and eventually he got to know the real way, the best way to live the life. right? That eightfold path which he is telling, the middle path which he talks about, the enlightenment that he got. You see, it was a long process. During that process, he seems like a wanderer to me. But eventually he reached somewhere. It was a long time, but he certainly reached somewhere. Or if I talk about the process of evolution, or let's say I specifically talk about the human race when it comes to the process of evolution. Don't you think when you look at human evolution, we've learned many things with time? We are continuously evolving. We're not sure how to exactly live the life. There was a time when we started using some small weapons, using some stones. Then we got to know that no, these will not work. We need some smaller ones. We need sharper ones. Then we understood that we must use some fire. So we kept on learning. We kept on hustling. The process to me again seems like wandering. We were evolving continuously. And you see the process of evolution or the process of improvement. What do you do to improve? You try different methods, right? Even let's say in essay writing, you want to improve. What do? You try to write in a different way. Every time you will write essay in a different manner, and that's how you will check whether this will work, this will work, this will work. So when you're trying all these things, that time you are in your struggling phase, and struggling phase is a wandering part. Okay, my core argument is when you're struggling, that struggle is nothing but wandering. Okay, you can even say that real growth actually takes place when you're struggling, when you're hustling. Because when you're not hustling, when you're doing and you don't have any challenges in life, you're in your comfort zone, then you will not grow. You will remain as you are. But when you get challenges, adverse conditions are there. Only during adverse conditions that person really grows. Okay, so you can again show this is a very good thing. Because of wandering, the person is actually growing. Especially look at people who have done some heroic things, heroic actions. So when there is a disaster, only at that time we have an opportunity to see someone to show heroic act, courageous act, right? So as far as wandering process is concerned, to me it seems the struggle part, this is my core argument, the struggle part or struggle period is a wandering part. And that's why I don't find it as negative as such. Even writer is saying the same thing. I don't know whether writer means this same thing, but at least I am interpreting on my own. That's our interpretation, right? Then some other examples if you can think of. Now this is how we are actually going in a logical manner. Now if you want to bring in that pestle approach, different approaches that you can bring in for the brainstorming part, not for the structuring, but for the brainstorming. So if you want to think about what all I can bring in, so I can think about example from history about Columbus. Columbus started his journey. He wanted to go to India. But where did he go? He went to America. Now, do you call this process as a lost thing or a failure thing? Do you think Columbus was a failure? No. He was, obviously, he wanted to go somewhere at a different place, but he reached at a different place. That's fine. He discovered something. He discovered something. Or instead of Columbus, we can talk about many scientists, many philosophers or let's say thinkers. What do? They keep on trying, keep on making different experiments. Many times this happens that scientists are working on a particular project. Let's say they're trying to find out some medicine for a particular disease, and during that process they found out something else. This happens, many times this happens. Or philosophers, they keep on questioning, keep on thinking. They are in one idea, while thinking, while in that wandering process, they reach to something else. They reach to some other idea altogether. So the point is, here there is something called exploration. Okay, here I talked about the struggling part, the struggle phase. Here I am talking about the exploration phase, or one who is actually trying to explore things. Exploring, discovering new things, that is a different idea. And that is a wandering process which is very good. No problem. No problem. Now, look at artists. Look at artists. What do you find? What do you find interesting about artists? They are creative. They create something. When they are creating something, what will you give importance to? When they create something new. Something new means this is completely against something that is already established. Am I right? Something that is already established. Against that, what you do is you bring something new, you create something new. And we like such artists. We like that art which brings something new. So you see, our essay is anyway what it is saying. When you say all who wander are lost, you're trying to say that if you go against the established order or established understanding of things, whatever society considers as the right thing, when you go against that, when you come up with something new, that's a problematic thing for the society, and they're calling it as lost, that you're a lost person. But do you think artists are doing that? Do you think artists are actually lost? No, rather they are coming up with something new. For example, I give this example of Ajay, Atul, good composers, good singers. If we look at their compositions, why they are quite known is because the kind of music they compose. They did not get the training, the training which others have got for the classical music. Still they learnt on their own, and now they are composing some music which seems quite unique as compared to others. And this is the uniqueness that people like. And this is the true art form that everyone is appreciating. So when you are breaking away from any predictability or any established thing, when you are coming up with anything new, we are talking about that aspect, and we are calling that process in itself is a wandering process, and the result seems to me a really good result. Fine. Now there's something else, the idea of self-discovery. Now in one of the essay also we talked about self-discovery, that essay was focusing on self-discovery. Can you think about self-discovery with respect to this wandering process? When we say self-discovery, what are you trying to do? You're trying to find out your purpose in life. What is my purpose? So that you live a very happy life or a very meaningful life. Am I right? This is the self-discovery. Or you want to know what is my aptitude, what's my strength, what are my values, what is my interest, how will I be happy overall. That's all part of your self-introspection, self-awareness or self-discovery. Now think about this dimension. When you get into this aspect of self-discovery, what are you doing? You're wandering. Is it guaranteed that you will reach somewhere? Do you know what is that ultimate final stage? You don't know. Neither you know whether you are going to reach there or not. But here, when you are in this process, the ultimate thing is this process in itself cannot be considered as a wrong thing or a bad thing as such. Are we able to prove all these things? Now, I can think about politics in the same. There are some ideas in politics. For example, there is an idea of anarchy. I don't know if you have ever read about it. But when we talk about Gandhiji or we talk about Karl Marx, these people have talked about something called as anarchy, political anarchy. They say that there should not be any government, there should not be any state, stateless society. Society should not have any state as such. Society should run on its own. Now, for a normal person, understanding this thing is very difficult, first of all. Secondly, what that person will call, this Gandhiji has gone mad or something, Karl Marx has gone mad or something, right? For For a person who understands the established things, for him this idea in itself is very new. So when I even talk about the concept of idea, what is idea? Idea is something new, right? When someone is entering into ideal world or world of ideas, it seems he's a lost person to that person. Even we might find it difficult, how will anarchy sustain and all. But look at things from their perspective. Then you might get to know what they exactly mean. Will you call them wanderers? But will you call them lost or failure? Think about it. So that's how the overall structuring. You see, we are trying to discuss the wandering as a positive thing, right? In this all part. Now, sometimes these reform movements, LGBTQ rights related, women related, caste related, all these things, you look at any kind of reform movement or any kind of protest, what do you see exactly in that? They go against the established order in the society, established norms in the society. They go against that. Will you call them lost? When Raja Ram Mohan Roy must have started talking against Sati tradition, the entire society must have called him a mad person, a crazy person, a person who is in his world of ideas and maybe someone has brainwashed him or something, right? They are considering him as lost, but do you think he was lost? So can you think about this dimension? Or there's something in ethics that we study, deontology, or even we study about virtue ethics and all. In deontology, we give importance to means and not the end result. When you give importance to means, you do your duty for the sake of duty and you're not interested in the end result, because you have a clarity on this part that if means are good, ends will always be good, and we should not think about end. Or even if we take the help of karma theory given in Bhagavad Gita, that also talks about the same thing, that focus on your karma, the actions, and it doesn't matter what will be the end. Now, when you look at things in a deontological way, or when you look at things in process, don't you think the process in itself is important, whether we reach to that end or not? See, why someone will be called lost, why society will call lost? Because when you are wandering, for them, there is no end. By this path, you're not going to reach any particular end. That's why they're calling you lost. But if you call the entire process as important, then you will understand that wandering in itself is important. Whether I reach an end or not doesn't matter. I just want to wander. I just want to enter into this process of wandering. The process in itself becomes important. The journey is important, not the destination. Are you getting my point? The process, the journey, even this is said about happiness, this is said about success. I'm not sure if you have ever thought about it, but happiness is not something you're going to gain after a particular process. You're not going to get it at the end. The process in itself is of happiness. Same goes with the success part. So that dimension you can think of over here. So what you did, you talked about that negative part, the societal general perception. You talked about the positive part. Am I right? But think about this. If so many people in the society, they consider all wanderer as lost, that means there must be some substance in their argument. We accept that their argument is not so good, but at least why do they think about it like this way? At least you can think that way. Am I making right point? At least you can think this dimension that they must have seen some people who were wanderers and later on they became lost. Okay, they must have seen some samples because of which this stereotype might have got developed, or this prejudice might have got developed. Am I right? That's possible. So you can open up this dimension, you can start talking about it. When you're talking about it, you can say there are some people who are lost. This is for sure. Okay, now open up this dimension. Why? Again, I'm thinking in a very logical manner over here, that if some are lost, why some people are lost? They were on a journey. When we discuss this dimension, that wandering in itself is a positive thing. You said negative, but I see as a positive also. And you reach to a conclusion that it is a subjective matter. It is a very subjective matter. For society, Buddha, for society, when a person from society, he looks at Buddha, for him, it seems he was a lost person. But look at Buddha. He was on a deliberate journey to achieve that enlightenment. Although he was not clear about the path and all, but he was on a deliberate journey. He knew what he wants. Possible. So for one person, it might look like he's lost. For other person, he is on a deliberate journey, so he's not lost at all. He's just on his path. He's just going on. He's on the way. Right? So you talked about the subjectivity. But now I'm saying, when society has this particular perception, go into that dimension. Why some people are lost? What kind of mistake? When you started preparation, many people, what they do, they keep on preparing for 4, 5, 6 years, but they couldn't clear. They could not clear the exam. They prepared for 8 years, 9 years, whatever. There must be some reason that they could not clear. So there are many people who try different paths, different things, but still they do not succeed. What can be reason? Think about this dimension and you'll automatically start getting points. For example, one might have lost focus. One might not have enough discipline. This person got distracted by social media, mobile phone, distracted by someone. Maybe he was in a relationship, whatever it is. He got distracted, that's the one thing. That's the argument. He did not have enough discipline that is needed. Let's say for the mains, you need discipline. You have to write answers, you have to make notes, but you're not doing that. You just enjoy reading. You keep on reading the books. You'll not get selected then. The point is, when you are in the wandering process, if you lack focus or discipline, most probably you will be lost. Or some people are pessimistic. They're not optimistic about life. They always think the negative dimension. So because they are pessimistic, there is a chance in this wandering process, they'll not reach to the last final end. See, sometimes the journey, the process is very tedious. It can be very long. It might require you to persevere. And not everyone can show this perseverance. Not everyone can show perseverance. It will be difficult to sustain for 5, 6 years, 7, 8 years. Now, instead of him, think about Nawazuddin Siddiqui. Look at the life of Nawazuddin Siddiqui. He was graduate from National School of Drama. So, a very recognized institution in India about theatre and acting. But he went to Mumbai, nobody cares. He kept on struggling for almost 13, 14 years. Then he got his name or identity which he always wanted. Or you look at the story of Abraham Lincoln, which I talked about in the ethics lectures. So he struggled for years, 20, 25, 30 years. So not everyone can persevere. So what do people do in this span of struggle? When the struggle is going on, in mid-path, what they do is they settle for less. Some people, they settle for less. That happens. So all these reasons, maybe you can come up with few more reasons why someone will get lost. Right? You can think about this dimension. And then comes another dimension. What is the reason? Some people who wander, they reach to their final destination and they succeed. Okay. I'll just mention reach. They were in the wandering process, but they reached to their final destination. How come this happens with some people? What exactly do they do? First of all, they have self-belief. Either they have self-introspected and they know about their aptitude. They know that even if this process is taking time, one or the other day, maybe after 1 year or 2 attempts or 3 attempts, I'm definitely going to get selected. That self-belief is there with them. Or some people don't have self-belief, they have hope. They have hope. There's a saying, hope is one of the best things to have, because when you have very adverse conditions, it's only the hope which can make you survive. So some people have hope, no matter what their condition is. Some people self-introspect, and with self-introspection, they improve. With each attempt, they keep on improving. With time, they keep on improving, and slowly, they evolve. They evolve and they become stronger. This happens with many people. They don't have enough aptitude maybe, or they're not very strong in the early phase. That's why you must have observed. Suddenly you come to know about someone whom earlier you used to think that he may not do something as such great. Suddenly you get to know that this person has reached to this big stage, he has become a celebrity or something. This doesn't happen just automatically. It requires introspection, it requires efforts on daily basis. Some people persevere, I told you this perseverance part, and some people, they just go on following this deontological process wherein they are just on this journey of exploration. They are just enjoying this means part, journey part. They are just interested in journey. They did not even wanted to reach to any destination as such. So for them, this is the success. They didn't reach even to any end point. In this journey in itself was the point of happiness for them. They were not lost. Am I making my point in a very good manner? Yes? Any doubt till now? Any doubt how we are thinking about essay, how we are structuring it, how we are coming up with different dimensions, and how we are opening it up? Yes, any doubt, Darshan? Gauri? Now see, let's say we have to introduce this essay. Firstly, see, I told you this thing again and again. If you really want to think about any essay, think about its conclusion, but don't think about its introduction in the beginning. Okay, once you have made all this structure, rough structure, about what all you are going to include in this essay and all, after that think about what can be the best introduction for this essay. Now, if I have to talk about introduction, one way would be you start with wandering process. Basically, you start with wandering process directly. That would be one way. Other way would be come up with some stories. You can come up with some stories. For example, the best story that I found was Sindhutai Sapkat. I think yesterday I had discussed this story, right? She was, thrown out of her home, and then she became a beggar. She had no purpose in life. But later on, she saw some children, orphan children, and she found a purpose in life, that I'm going to feed these children, I'm going to take care of these children. And now she is called as the mother of 1,000 orphans, right? Now when I look at this part, I can think about this dimension that when she was thrown out of her home, what she was doing was she was wandering. That process was of wandering. But she was not lost. She got a purpose in that wandering process. So can I use her example to start my introduction? I can build a very good story. I can write a good story and start this process of wandering. In the first para itself, I can showcase the examiner that I have understood what the author is trying to say. You'll establish that thesis statement directly in the first para or the first page. If not in the first para, second or third or maybe fourth. But as early as possible, you establish the thesis statement in front of the reader. That's possible. Other way, the example that I can think of is this Russia-Ukraine war that is going on, or I can think about more than Russia-Ukraine war, rather India's foreign policy towards Russia-Ukraine war, or India's foreign policy in total. I can show wandering in this. How? You look at Western media, you look at the Western scholars. They keep on making one comment against India, that it seems India's foreign policy lacks strategic thinking. We do not have strategic thinking. We don't think in the long term. We don't have a big plan as such in foreign policy. Sometimes we tilt this side, sometimes we tilt that side, sometimes to Russia, sometimes to US, likewise. We don't have a strategic plan, strategic thinking as such. That's what they claim. Now, what you can think about is, it's a process of wandering. Our foreign policy is actually evolving. To some extent, it seems true that maybe we lacked that strategic thinking. But with time, we are learning that. With time, our foreign policy is evolving. See, earlier we were more tilted towards Russia. Now we are relatively on US side, but not completely. Because the experience has taught India that US cannot be trusted so easily. Right? So, although we are not going to write that part, but when I look at India's foreign policy, whether it lacks strategic thinking or not, I look at it as it is in the state of wandering. The foreign policy is evolving with time. Okay, and the time will decide whether you should call it as lost, or we will reach to some stage wherein we will serve our national interest. And as far as India's national interests are concerned, we mostly have this world view wherein we have cosmopolitan view. We want to balance national interest with the global interest, simply. We want to make it equal. Right? So, if with this foreign policy, we can make this after, let's say, 100 years, 200 years, how can you call it as a lost thing? Am I right? So, I'm just trying to give you examples through which you could have started this essay. Best one for me was this Sindhutai Sapkal. It looks a very good story and it sets as an introduction in a very nice manner. Fine? Any doubt on this one essay? Now, one more dimension. Let's say if you still have space available, if you can still write more, if you want to open up dimensions, again, think logically what additionally I could have done over here. What all we have done till now. Just look at this part. We discussed wandering. Then we said this is equal to being lost. Right? Then we said it is not lost. It's a positive thing. Right? Then we said why some people are lost. Then we said why people are not lost. Right? This much part we have covered, although you can write a decent essay with this. Still, if you want to open up, at the end, what you can do is, you can give a way forward. Or here, motivate. Because this quote is very motivational. Your tone should be motivational at the end. Motivate the reader. How you can do that? You can do this part. See what wanderer did. A person who is a wanderer. Either he can be lost or he can win, he can reach to his destination. Okay. But at least he was doing something. If you are not a wanderer, don't you think we can open up this dimension? If you are not a wanderer, you are not even trying. You are not even trying and you are not even checking your potential. People have potential. Whether they actualize that potential or not, that's a different thing. Okay. Some people actualize, some people don't. So, this part. But at least try. At least try. Otherwise, you will never know what was your potential. These are the most ignorant people. These are the most ignorant people. Rather, this, not if we remove all who wander are lost. This is the idea which is coming from these people who are ignorant. At least try, wander, whether you reach or not, that's a different story. So, talk about this part and then motivate this reader. That bro, you should at least try, you should at least wander. Maybe you will do something really great. Fine. So, this is the flow that you can maintain. And the reader will certainly be happy with your essay if you're writing this way. Yes? Now tell me, any doubt or no? Should we move ahead? Okay. Now look at few essay themes. We'll just briefly try to understand their meaning, because that's the most important thing for you people, that you should comprehend the meaning of the essay. So first we tried with this part. So some other philosophical essays. Can you just understand the meaning? Let's try. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. There is no path to happiness. Can anyone tell me? Can you just understand? Just tell me yes or no. Can you understand the meaning of this essay? Yes or no? There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. I think I just discussed, when I was discussing this wandering part, there already I have discussed the same thing which this essay is talking about. Yes, Gauri? Are you getting the meaning of this essay or no? Be very honest. Yes, no, anything. Or confused, maybe. Yes. So this one is easy, maybe because we discussed this part. Look at this one. Doubter is the true man of science. What about this? Doubter is a true man of science. Yes or no? Just tell me this. Or can you think about it? Now we'll apply the same thing in case you're not able to. Same thing. If you're not understanding, we'll look at just one single words. Doubt, science, right? We understand what do we mean by science. But doubter. Doubter means a person who is very skeptical, who doubts everything. You tell him something, he'll say, give me what's the evidence. He's like, I don't trust you. I need evidence. So such is a man of doubt. And here author is saying, doubter is a true man of science. If you are really a man of science, then you should doubt almost everything. So they're actually talking about something called as scientific temperament. Scientific temper or scientific temperament. Thinking leads to innovation. Without this, no progress. Very good. Or when you look at science as a whole, what is science? They are providing some empirical knowledge, and how this knowledge will come out. If you look at how the science works, how we reach to science is based on doubt. We doubt everything that is in front of us. If anyone gives us theory, we ask them to prove your theory. Without the proof, we will not accept his theory. That's the idea. Compare theories given by religious texts and compare it with the science. What do you find as a difference? Religious theory will just tell you the theory. They won't give you any substantiation or any empirical evidence as such for you to check it. There is no question wherein you can doubt what the religious texts are saying. You will just have to accept it. Right? Whereas if you're a man of science, you should have that sense of doubt in you. It's not about doubting. It's about the temperament. That your temperament always questions anything that you are saying that this is right. You will question it. No. Give me evidence. Okay? So you can understand this part. Science evolves through skepticism, critical thinking, etc., etc. Easy? You're understanding the theme? Now this one is relatively difficult, but can you understand? Tell me, yes or no. Simply, the empires of the future will be the empires of the mind. Read it once again and tell me yes or no, whether you understand or no. The empires of the future will be the empires of the mind. Okay, think about it. If we are not able to understand, we'll again break it down. Empires of the future, empires of the mind. I'll just think about empires, nothing extra. And I'll take the dictionary meaning, or I'll just look at what I understand by this term empire. So as soon as I look at empire, I think about British Empire, Mughal Empire, right? I think about such empires. Now they are talking about empires of the future. To understand empires of the future, I have to think about empires of the past, right? The statement is about empires of the future. So I'll think about what was in past. So what was in past? We had, let's say, this British Empire. Okay, as soon as I think about empire, British Empire is coming into my mind, which was there in past. Now think of this, how Britishers established this empire, because Britain is a very small country. And if you look at their empire, it seems to be this much. Asia, Africa, South America, etc., etc. It's a very small country. So for me, empire seems to be nothing but expansion of power or influence. Am I right? When I look at British Empire, it seems this empire means it's an expansion of power, expansion of influence altogether. Power is the right word to say over here. You can think this way. Now we reached at least to this word, that is empire. Now, to understand empires of the future, think about empires of the past. You look at any empire in the past, Mughal, Britain, Ottoman Empire, any empire. How did they build that empire? So there was some role of military. How did they build it, or how did they maintain their empire? Because of some military presence, this muscle power. Muscle power has always plays an important role to maintain this empire, right? Now see, this is something which used to happen in the past. Today, if you want to build an empire, you can't go for this muscle power or military power. You can't. You have to go for something called as empire of the mind. Something called as empire of the mind. I can relate it with artificial intelligence. Not just artificial intelligence, we can talk about knowledge economy, information, innovation, all these things. One who is having knowledge, he will hold power. One who is having knowledge, he will hold power. Actually, there is a theory also. There is a thinker called Foucault. Foucault talks about knowledge-power connection. Let's say you talk about a doctor. You go to a doctor. There's a difference between doctor and you. The doctor has got a knowledge of his domain. You can't argue with him. You can't argue anything with him. If he says you will have to pay 10,000 rupees, this many medicines you have to take, you can't argue anything with him. There's no negotiation. Why? Because he is holding the power. Because he has got the knowledge. Because of the knowledge, he has got that power. Now, as far as empires of the mind is concerned, even if you can think just about AI at this moment, what is being said about AI? Any country who controls artificial intelligence will control the entire world. Am I right? Right now, do you just need military presence or muscle power to control other countries or influence other countries? You look at USA's influence on us. There is substantial influence which we call as some kind of cultural or soft power influence. Is it there? The language that I am speaking, it's English. The clothes that you people are wearing or I am wearing, those are not they don't seem to me like Indian clothes as such. So there is a substantial influence of American culture on us. You accept this thing? And culture is a manufactured idea. Culture is something which is manufactured idea. Manufactured by the mind. Culture has came from the mind. It is a product of mind. So can you relate it over here? The empires of the future will be the empires of the mind. That means in this present age, if you want to rule, if you want to expand your influence, expand your power, anything, power or influence, anything, You can't rely on this traditional way, the way of military power only. There are different ways which involves role of mind. Mind is needed. You can even think about cyber security here, right? Nowadays, even warfare is possible. If you can control, you see, if you have the power to, go for cyber attack on a country, within half an hour, you can close down many of their important operations. Let's say suddenly their electricity goes off. Suddenly their nuclear power stations, their communication between Prime Minister and their CDS, let's say, if they're on a call or something, you can stop that call, you can stop the internet, everything. If you have that control, just think about this dimension. What can you do? You can do anything. But for that, what do you need? You need technology. You need such technology. Technology will be a product of mind, right? So I've just tried to give you some examples to understand the meaning. Now are you in a position to understand what does this theme means? Empires of the future will be empires of the mind. And are you getting the process through which we can understand it? Breaking down the sentence, looking at the keywords, looking at their dictionary meaning, just thinking logically, just simply thinking in a logical manner. Yes? Any doubt? Any doubt with this theme, empires of the future? No? Okay. Now look at this one. Good one. All ideas having large consequences are always simple. Just try to understand it. Right now, don't think about structuring and all. Just think about it. Can you understand the meaning? All ideas having large consequences are always simple. Yes, are you getting the meaning? No? So think about it. All ideas having large consequences. So think about any idea. The easiest way is just think about any idea. Idea which changed the world, which was very much dominating on the world. Any idea? Just can you just give me examples of any such idea which had very large consequences? That idea changed the lives of many people. Give me some examples. Gandhiji brought non-violence. Very good. Non-violence is an important idea. What else? Rachel Carson. Very good. Very good. The idea of environmental sustainability and all, everything came with him. Okay, fine. Very good. So you're on the right track now. Just to understand the meaning of this essay, we are looking at those ideas which were really dominating. Now you could talk about idea of liberty, equality, fraternity. You see the French Revolution, then all those revolutions taking place in Europe, even the revolution taking place in India, although not in the form of European Revolution. This idea of liberty, equality, fraternity, that changed the world. Am I right? That changed the world substantially. Then you talk about idea of equality in essence when you talk about this political ideas like this idea of socialism. Don't you think it has changed the world very much substantially? There was a time when world was getting divided. Half of them following capitalism, half following socialism. That was happening. After that, we came to a middle point wherein most of the countries, they seem to be following a model of welfare state. But that happened. Capitalism changed. Capitalism changed into welfare state because of socialism, right? So this idea was there which was having large consequences. So when I look at any such idea, this one is also no taxation without representation. Very famous idea. Think about this thing, that these are always simple. The writer is saying any such idea is very simple. It's not a very complex idea, or you need a person who is a very scientist only, he can understand this idea. Writer is trying to say any such idea which had so much influence, that was very simple. That was very simple to understand, and it was very simple already. There was nothing complex about it. We're not talking about Newton's third law or something as such. It was simple. So, if I talk about this idea of no taxation without representation, this came from the common sense of these people, that how come you can tax me when nobody out of us is taken into consideration when the decisions are being made? How can you do this? You didn't even ask me before making this deal. How can I pay? This is common sense, using common sense over here. No taxation without representation. So the idea was very simple. Or you talk about this idea of ethics, which we can bring in over here. The entire idea of ethics, when we talk about it, what it says: do unto others as you want others to do with you. You behave with others in the same manner, the way with which you want others to behave with you. That's the core idea of ethics. Don't you think it's a very simple idea? It's very simple. We'll treat you the way you will treat us. Same. Very basic, very simple. So, you're getting the point. All ideas having the large consequences, they are very simple to understand. They can generate from a very basic common sense. You don't need very high intellect to understand that idea. Whether it was this idea of liberty, equality, fraternity, very basic. Okay, you can discuss this dimension. Maybe you can think about that dimension, that because it was simple, that's why it was having large consequences. Otherwise, people would never have understood it. Maybe. Right? People don't understand what is E is equal to mc square because that requires maybe high intellect. Okay, at least you're getting the point, that you're understanding the theme, what writer is trying to say. Yes? Now, tell me this one, can you understand this? The cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. Can you understand this? And if yes, give me one example. Give any example, just mention that name or anything. I'll understand whether you've got it or not. Nelson Mandela. Very good example. So he had to suffer. He had to spend a substantial time of his life in jail, in prison. That's true. Very good. I think out of all these, this one is the easiest to write. This directly emanates from our ethics paper directly. The content is there with us. Cost of being wrong is less than cost of doing nothing. Okay, again, I get that example of Mahabharata. I think means you can very much show the same dimension which yesterday I had discussed. That Mahabharata happened not because of Duryodhan, not because of people who are on the wrong side or the people who are doing wrong. It took place because some people did nothing, or rather it was their inaction, the action that they must have taken. They did not perform their duty in the right sense. Maybe they did not understand their duty in the right sense. That's the reason they didn't perform, and their inaction led to this dangerous war. Am I right? I give you the example of Bhishma, Karna, or who was Dronacharya, right? So as soon as I saw this, I'm getting that particular thought in mind, that I can start my introduction with this. It will look really good. Others are not writing this. Am I right? So, cost of doing nothing. When you do nothing, then you are allowing this wrong person to act. I can relate it with something called as participative democracy. I can even think about, just as soon as I read this, I'm getting thoughts about what can be there in the introduction, what can be there in conclusion, what can I talk about. I can think about the regime of Hitler, the regime of totalitarianism. Hitler emerged from democracy and turned it into a totalitarian regime. And you see, when good people will not be part of democracy, when they will not even get into the political sphere. The problem with Jews was they gave more importance to economy. They were doing financially really good. So they were more interested in their business and all those activities, and they did not show much interest in politics. They did not participate much in politics. That's the reason totalitarian regimes, they establish themselves. So it is the necessity, or it is the mandatory thing that everyone should participate. These good people should participate. When you don't participate, when you do nothing, that's why. So in India also right now, this criminalization of politics is happening. You go, you're a good person, you should get into politics. You're not getting into politics. That's why criminals are getting into it. And they're dominating too. Are you getting the point? Or in case they're taking some action, some wrong action, it is your duty at least to protest. When you do nothing, the cost that you pay is way more higher than the cost of being wrong. Because the person who is committing that wrong thing, he might not have been in a position to cause that harm, or whatever he can cause, there is a limit to it. But because of your inaction, you have allowed that person to cause a disaster. Getting the point? It's a good thing. It's all about inaction. The entire essay will revolve around inaction, not performing your duty, not performing any action. You can think about all those dimensions by, basic way, applying that logic, that why someone will not do it. What do you think? There are good people, but they don't act. Why? Fear or some kind of passion. You can think about all those dimensions, but at least, are you getting the meaning? Yes? Good. So, the point is, now you are in a position to at least comprehend essays. At least you can grab the meaning of the essay. Yeah, sometimes it may happen, some essay topics, because there is a very technical word or a kind of word which you had never read about. That word is there, because of which you are not able to comprehend it. That problem can be there with very rare essays or few essays. One way would be read the Hindi translation if possible, and if you can understand that, that's great. But in case this is the case wherein you don't know the word at all, in that case there's no way, you have to just skip it. You have to skip it, no option as such. Because the kind of risk you will take by just thinking about that this word must mean this, something like this and all. So that is a guesswork, and that may go wrong. So practically, I suggest get the clarity on the topic first. Okay. So we'll discuss some structuring and all part. I'll take a break first. We'll take just 2 minutes break. After that, we'll start the structuring part. Okay, some structuring. I'll show you how we can structure some essays in some ways. Okay. So in this essay, example of Nelson Mandela is wrong. No, it's not wrong. Why is it's wrong? Why do you think it's wrong? Nelson Mandela is the right example to set over here. You can use it, but where you can use it to show that he acted. Where you will show that? As a positive example. But in the beginning, when you are starting the essay is talking about that wrong stuff, that you did nothing and you messed up. You are the main culprit. It's not the person who is doing wrong things. It's not the Hitler. It was not the real mistake of Hitler. Whatever he did is the mistake of Jews, that they did not participate in the politics. They gave importance to economic stuff. Are you getting this point? This is the idea this essay is establishing. So initially you will not talk about Nelson Mandela, but when you will discuss all these ideas and all, when you will conclude, when you will talk about the way forward and all those stuff, when you are giving the idea to the reader about the positive dimension, there you talk about these people who acted, who really acted. There are very less people who are acting, that you can show. Talk about Gandhi, talk about Bhagat Singh, talk about Nelson Mandela. Okay, There you can show that part. Fine. Okay, now let's take break for just 2 minutes. Okay, so now we'll look at the structuring part. Okay, so when we are trying to structure the essay, one of the way is to do it using this dialectic method that we call as using thesis, antithesis and the synthesis part. What do we mean by this thesis, antithesis? It is said that every idea is built up of contradiction. Now in the essays, most of the times it will happen that there will be contradictions in the essay. One side will say go for this direction, one side will say don't go for this direction, don't go for this direction. So this is contradictory thing. So in the thesis statement, we will look at that supporting side. In antithesis, we will look at that contradictory side. Okay, and then I want you to reach to some synthesis. Synthesis doesn't mean, most of the students what they do is they write a very descriptive essay in which they will show one side, then they will show second side. They'll like, sir, this also, you decide. This is not the way. Let's say this prime minister, let's say you are part of the bureaucracy, you're the senior most civil servant, and prime minister asks you that I'm thinking about building a nuclear power plant or something. What do you think? Will you do this way that, sir, this is one side, that is positive side, if you build a nuclear power plant, this will happen. Then you show the second side, sir, these are the negative consequences, this all will happen. Will you stop over here by just showing two sides? By showing two sides, you're talking about thesis, you're talking about antithesis, but you have not reached to the synthesis. In synthesis, we remove contradictions. Okay, whatever contradictions are there, we remove those contradictions to reach to a final conclusion. You will say whether to build this nuclear power plant or not. You will take one side, but you will remove that element which might be problematic, which might be contradictory. You will remove those contradictions, and that is what synthesis is all about. Okay, now instead of just theoretical knowledge, look at the example to understand what I exactly mean by synthesis. So let's say we have this essay. Science and technology is the panacea for the growth and security of the nation. Simple essay, not so technical, not so philosophical as such. Science and technology, look at science and technology. It is panacea. Panacea means a kind of solution, you can say, the final or best solution for growth and security of the nation. So for the growth, do you think we use science and technology for growth and security? Is it that important? Now we can think about it. Obviously, if we have substantial developments in the science and technology field, certainly there is economic growth. Now our IT sector is booming with technology, our pharmaceutical sector is growing because of technology. Or security part, look at the kind of missiles we are making, the kind of drones we are making, any such part. Yes, science and technology can make you secure. America ruling on this world, or let's say America dominating with its hegemony on this world, there are different dimensions to it. One is economically America is strong, but there's one dimension of technology. Technologically, it is way ahead of others. So yes, it can ensure security. Yes. Now, the thesis would be, in this case, the thesis would be you support this particular side. That yes, science and technology leads to the growth and security of the nation. You support this part and you discuss this part, how this happens, how science and technology leads to growth and security of the nation. You show that, how it happens, why it happens, if there won't be science and technology, what will happen? If it is there, what will happen? You can think about all that part, but all that part is your thesis part. Okay. Now, look at the antithesis. We can say science and technology doesn't lead to growth and security as such, rather it leads to disasters. Because of science and technology, we built a nuclear power plant. Later on, we got to know a big incident took place. A big incident took place, Chernobyl. You can think about Chernobyl incident. A disaster. Or you think about Hiroshima, Nagasaki. That's a disaster. Or you think about the, this biological warfare, new pandemics and all. You can think about that. So, when I look at antithesis, it is going against this dimension. Whatever thesis statement established, I am going against it. So, let's say I can talk about fertilizer overuse. With technology, we got some good fertilizers. But what is happening? People are misusing it. People are overusing it, because of which the soil fertility is getting reduced. That's a problem. Or you can talk about cyber attacks. We developed technology and now that technology is being used in a very bad manner through some kind of cyber attacks. So, it can go against growth, against security. Cyber attack directly goes against these two things. Can you look at this dimension? So, this is one dimension which you can explore completely. But see this thing, maximum students, they will go for thesis, go for antithesis, but they will not tell the synthesis, they will not come to a conclusion wherein they are removing those contradictions. It is true that this technology can be used for a negative cause. You can't directly say that no, it will not happen. It will happen. Now remove this contradiction. What we will do in the synthesis part, that sir, okay, cyber attacks are happening, okay. But the solution for cyber attacks is also lying in technology. We can build technologies which can reduce cyber attacks. We can build that security system. This you can think about. Or with technology, we got to know about this NPK ratio, fertilizer overuse we are doing. Now we got to know about NPK ratio. So we are using that. Or rather, you can mold this entire essay in the synthesis saying that the problem is not with technology, sir. Technology, or you can call it science and technology. See, why contradiction is there? In this statement, contradiction is coming because of this negative side of technology, that it can be used for a wrong purpose. So you can say that the problem is not with science and technology, it's a good thing only. You're taking the side of thesis, you're taking the side, but you're saying if it is used in a wrong manner, then that is a problem. That means the problem is about our ethics, our values. There's no problem with science and technology. It is certainly a good thing, but these negative things, these disasters or anything that you're saying, why this is happening is because of lack of ethics, lack of good values, or lack of knowledge. People, they overuse fertilizer because lack of knowledge, they are ignorant. Okay. Or the governance in our country, that is not so well. Maybe because of that they are doing it. So think about this dimension. When you are having one kind of essay wherein you will establish thesis statement, you will establish this antithesis, then please reach to the synthesis part. Give some conclusion, take side if needed. Take side if needed. Don't be just describe these things that this is one side, this is second side, and I have nothing to do with it. No, don't be like that. You're a civil servant. You have to take stand, right? So take a stand. No matter what you are capable enough to take that stand. Just take it. Be courageous while writing this essay. Okay? Any doubt in this? I'll discuss few more so that you get a good idea about all these things. Any doubt on this per se? No? Okay. Now let's look at another example. Look at this. Is the growing level of competition good for youth? Is the growing level of competition good for youth. Now, what will be the thesis statement over here? You say yes. Simply, thesis statement is yes. Yes, competition is good for youth, obviously. So if you explore this dimension, you will talk about that part. Yes, it looks good because of competition, many good things are happening. So for example, when there is competition, people will struggle, people will make more efforts, there will be growth, this personal growth will be there, people will develop more skills. It will motivate people to strive for excellence, to become better, to learn valuable lessons of life. All these things, don't you think this is the content you have? You can think about it, nothing new as such in this, right? This all you can think about. So the thesis statement is how this growing level of competition is good for the youth. This is the dimension when you explore, that is your thesis statement, you are supporting that. Antithesis is no. Competition is very bad for this youth, and this growing competition is so bad. How? Because of this high competition. You see many children committing suicide, mental stress, mental health is affected, anxiety, mental disorders, there is unemployment also because of competition, right? So if you can think about this dimension, this is creating contradiction in the idea. Otherwise the statement was very good, but this side, antithesis, is creating a contradiction, because of which we are not able to completely support this statement. Yes? Now what we'll do? We'll do synthesis, in which we will say, when it comes to this problem of mental health, it's not really because of competition. It's not only the competition which is the real reason behind it. Rather, we don't have the societal support mechanism to sort out this mental issue problem. This could be one side to look at it. Or you can talk about the perception of competition. When you look at competition as a very negative term or a very narrow term, you might think it's a very bad thing, it's leading to all these problems. But when you look at competition in broad terms, what do you see? It is changing you, it is improving you. And one more thing, what about this value of personal improvement over winning over others? You can think about this dimension. Now here, you can take your side in this synthesis. I'm not suggesting that you completely be in support of competition. I'm not saying completely go against it, but try to remove that contradiction in the mind. If you're supporting, you have to remove this contradiction. And if you're supporting this part, that no, competition should not be there at all, then you have to remove this part of the competition, because it's coming up with some good thing. You have to remove that. So come to conclusion. Okay, one more example. Technology cannot replace manpower. Think about this. Just think about this. Technology cannot replace manpower. I'll give you 1 minute, just think about it. Think about what synthesis you can think. Yes, synthesis though can't replace man, but with evolving nature of technology, there is need to adapt with technology, not to get replaced. Now, in your synthesis, I can see the fear. I can see the fear about this technology, that you have this fear that maybe technology will overpower human beings, and that's why you're saying that we should adapt with technology, not to get replaced. Don't you think it involves fear? Yes? So, in your writing, your confidence, fear, everything will be very clearly visible. Whatever conclusion you are giving, that will clearly give me an idea about how you think. Okay? So, look at this. Okay, first we'll discuss thesis and antithesis. Thesis will support this part. Technology cannot replace manpower. No matter what happens, technology cannot fully replace manpower. So good things like the kind of things we do, like doctors, you see, even if there is artificial intelligence, if something is happening in your body and you're concerned about it, you will get in touch with doctor, no matter what artificial intelligence will tell you. Here we are interested in that doctor's experience, his judgment, which AI might not be able to do or might not be able to give us. We can't rely on AI for this. Wherever this human intelligence, judgment, all these things comes into picture, or rather specifically this ethics part, you can't expect ethics from AI or any other technology. This is something, our thing. You can't find your purpose without you yourself involving in self-awareness part. So this is something you can think about, this dimension. Okay, that there will be few things which are beyond any influence when it comes to technology. So emotional intelligence, creativity, empathy, right? You can think about all these dimensions now. Thesis part. Antithesis. Now you're going against the statement. Now you're saying, sir, it can replace. Now this is your fear, which you took this antithesis side to some extent, without even being very, what I can say, explicitly, but in implicit manner you supported this part, because that fear is visible. So you see, to a great extent, technology has replaced manpower is something we can show that this has happened till now. This seems happening. For example, earlier people were using bullocks. Now automobiles have come into picture, tractors have come into picture. Instead of manual labor, now people are using machines. The manufacturing has got very much automated now. You don't need to do everything. Earlier people were driving, now you don't even need to drive. The car can drive itself, right? So we certainly see some kind of replacement, especially wherever some kind of repetitive task is involved, some kind of accuracy is needed, speed is needed, consistency is needed. This is the part where machines can perform better than human beings. That precision thing, you can't do it the way a machine can show the precision, right? So we can show this part. Antithesis. Now when I'm reaching to the synthesis, look at this. I look at it this way. Technology complements but does not completely substitute manpower. It complements us. First of all, there will be some change in the manpower. You have to accept this in the synthesis. First of all, yes, there will be some change. So for example, earlier we were pilots of planes or something. Now we don't need to become pilots. There are drones which can run. You can just operate those drones. You can just monitor them, supervise them, or you can design drones. Designing drone is something not AI can do, or your technology can't do. How come that technology is coming into picture? You are doing it. Can you think of that research and development dimension? Will this work stop? Think about this part. You are creating new avenues of manpower. I accept some jobs are going. There won't be any such job which involves this manual work or this repetitive task. That AI can certainly manage. But new jobs are also opening up. For example, R&D, robotics, data science, machine ethics. You see, these are the dimensions which are opening up now, right? Or technology must replace human beings in some aspect. Can you think about this part? There was a fear in your mind that technology might replace, we should adapt. I'm saying technology replacing, that's a very good thing. It should replace, but where? Wherever something very hazardous or some kind of undignified, where your dignity is at stake, such a job humans should not do. It should, it's the technology. The job of a manual scavenger. Why should a human being do this particular task? Let the technology do it. Not a problem. It's a good thing. I can think about this part. So overall, my point is, technology is a tool. Humans are the real purpose. Any technology coming into picture, that will come for human beings. For human beings. So your fear, it's not like don't bring in that fear in the essay. But that could be one dimension to explore. That should not be your final conclusion that we will have to adapt, otherwise AI will overpower. Why? You can control it. Yes, you can talk about this dimension if you're talking about AI, that AI has become, it's not regulated enough. That's a problem. You can think about that part, right? So, technology is made for human beings. The purpose is human being. Fine. Yes, any doubt on this? Now we have another example wherein we'll try to structure it in a different way, wherein we'll try to compare it and try to show that contrast and all. So, crisis faced in India, moral or economic? Now just tell me, can you just understand this essay theme? What you're saying means, in conclusion, both negative and positive sides need. Both needed, but what side you're taking? See, the difference is, you want to take this side, but you have taken this side inherently. That's why I said there is a fear that is visible in your conclusion. Okay, I am saying, if out of these two, if you have to take one side, which one you are taking? In this, I see fear. In this, I see confidence or some kind of optimism, but because the statement seems to be bit overconfident, right? So you brought these contradictions, showed it and ended it over here. What you tried to do is, you're taking this side, but implicitly you are also taking this side. So there is some inconsistency in the thought because of fear. So remove the fear, I'm saying, remove the fear. Think it in a logical manner. Even if there is technology which is taking your jobs and all, there are the jobs which are getting created also. Maybe you just need to upgrade, you can say, but that can't be your conclusion, right? That can't be the conclusion. Some people need to upgrade. Some things will change. It's not one dimensional. Don't see, the essay is very one dimensional. Technology cannot replace manpower. They're looking at things in one dimension. I'm saying you look at things in a broad dimensions. Okay. So show both sides. In synthesis, take that side which to your judgment seems the right side, by removing the contradiction of the other side. Out of these two sides, it doesn't matter. You can take this side. I'm not saying that you should take this one only. You can take this side, but don't show fear. Don't show fear. Show that rationally this is happening. Okay. Now, this one. Tell me, can you understand the meaning of this essay? Crisis faced in India, economic or moral? Moral or economic? Very simple essay. This was asked, I think, earlier. Tell me, crisis faced in India, moral or economic? Moral, which model to choose for ultimate greater good of citizens? Moral, which model to choose for ultimate greater good of citizens? Now, the essay is talking about, what do you think, what kind of crisis are we facing right now? Do you think we are facing moral crisis or we are facing economic crisis in India? That's the question essay is asking. You mean moral crisis. Okay. So your side is, this moral crisis, there is no economic crisis as such. Right? Now see. First, let me talk about moral crisis and economic crisis. What kind of economic crisis do you see in India? Right now there is poverty, immense poverty is there, unemployment is there, rising inflation is there, agriculture, you see agricultural distress is there, because of which many people are, committing suicide in their agriculture. There is jobless growth. You have to accept these are the economic problems that we are facing. There is growth. We are, one of the fastest growing economy, but what's the use? Jobless. Only few people are growing. That's a problem. There is high inequality, very high inequality that we are observing. all this shows the economic crisis that exists in India. Further, you can give more examples, wage parity, MSME sector, etc., etc. So many things are there, right? These are real things. These are real, or I can say the pressing issues at this moment. Yes, you studied. This is basic economy, nothing new, right? Now, look at the moral crisis that exists. People have become greedy. That's a problem. People have become corrupt. That's a problem. Because of which there is nepotism, apathy. There is rising intolerance in our society that we are observing. Or in case you're doing something unethical, this is becoming normalized. There's a concept given by Hannah Arendt. She calls it as banality of evil. That some wrong act has become part of the common sense. Some unethical act has become normalized. That's a problem. So there is some problem with the value system of this generation of the people in India. There's some problem with the value system. There is problem with understanding of ethics or adhering to the ethical principles and all. That's a moral crisis, you can say. For example, when we see mob lynching taking place, the caste violence taking place, hate speeches which are very common nowadays, that shows moral degradation of the society, right? Now, crisis faced in India. You are in a position to show moral crisis also. You are able to show economic crisis also. Okay, this is where you can show two sides. Now, earlier what we did, we were showing two sides, we were coming to synthesis. Here, we already have two different variables to discuss. Moral crisis is one variable and this economic crisis is another variable. Here, what we can do is, we can compare these two. We can show linkages between these two. Can you show a linkage wherein you have moral crisis because of some economic problem? Can you think about this dimension? There is a moral crisis because of some economic problem. Or can you think about the reverse stuff? You have an economic problem because of some moral crisis. So here we are getting into that linkage part. I'll show you. For example, how moral crisis emanates from economic crisis. Think about it. You look at this issue of Naxalism. That's the best example over here. Right? Naxalism, wherein people are killing, you find it as a moral crisis. But this moral crisis, what is the reason behind this moral crisis wherein people are killing? Why they are doing it? Because underlying cause is an economic problem. There is no development in this area. There is immense poverty in this area, because of which we see such problems getting into picture. So you talk about terrorism, talk about contract killing, somewhere they are coming from this problem of poverty. Even the works of Aristotle, he talks about this thing, that if there will be inequality in this society, extreme inequality, if there is a society in which there are very rich people and there are very poor people, and this gap is a lot, this inequality is very strong, in such society, what you will see is a revolution. In such society, what you will see is a revolution. So here, don't you think this moral crisis is actually coming from an economic problem that already exists? Even if we take another examples, talk about this child labor, human trafficking, This you don't like, it's a moral crisis. But why is it there? Again, because of the poverty, they want to survive, and for survival, these people are getting into these activities. You have to accept this fact that they are facing economic hardship. That's a real problem. They don't want to get into this morally incorrect activity as such. This is the cause. Or farmers using this fertilizers in excess. Why? Why? Because somewhere farmers are facing economic distress. Agriculture is facing distress. Entire agriculture we see. There's a distress. Or farmers doing this stubble burning. You feel that this is morally wrong. You are causing pollution. People are dying, etc., etc. But do you give them any solution? They don't have money to build any infrastructure for this stubble burning. Instead of stubble burning, what should they do? They don't have anything. They don't have enough money also. So look at this part. Here, you are talking about moral crisis which is coming from or emerging from some economic base, some problem in their economic sphere, because of which this person is morally degraded. Clear? Now reverse. How economic crisis emanates from moral crisis. Now I am saying already there is a moral problem, and because of moral problem, now you are getting into an economic problem. Look at this thing. When you are very greedy, the actions that you will take, that will lead to economic hardship in the future. When you're greedy, morally, you're not doing good. When corporates become greedy and there is no integrity, they'll do whatever they want to because of their greed to just earn a lot of money as such. What it leads to is recession and instability. You can talk about those corporate frauds and all. For profit they did, for their greed they did. Many times you can talk about this global financial crisis, this NBFC liquidity crisis, etc. Right? So greed leads to such things. You have to accept it. Many people, they become very greedy and they go for this stock market trading. They take higher risks in life and then they suffer some economic hardship. It's they who started this. Or let's say some people are very irresponsible. They give importance to their short-term profit over the long-term things, long-term consequences. So companies or entire industrial revolution that has taken place, you see what companies have done. They have gone for consumerism, they have gone for just making profit, and now we see the result in the form of this ecological crisis. Now because, see, from where it started, people are greedy, moral problem. Now ecological crisis or this climate change issue. Because of climate change, now the cost of damage that you are experiencing nowadays, or slowly we will experience whenever there will be any climate disaster and all, you are going to pay for it, right? So we see economic hardship here. Then let's say you are not honest. What you do? You go for tax evasion, black money circulation, etc. What will happen? This was the money which was supposed to be paid as a tax, and this tax was supposed to be used for the welfare of the society or welfare of the people, citizens. Is it happening? No. When this welfare is not happening, they are facing economic problems. Am I right? Yes. Then when there is no empathy, there is no compassion, what will happen? Farmers are suiciding. You don't care about it. No empathy. People are dying, this very bad condition in which they are living, and you don't have any empathy. The mainstream society in India, they don't care about it. What will happen? Some days this Naxalism movement will start, or there will be a movement for separation, secessionism, because anyway you people don't care. Let us live on our own, self-rule. So extremism, insurgency, crime rise, all these things will happen because of no empathy, no compassion. Okay, so that's how we are linking. When we have such two different keywords, we'll not just talk about this side or that side, we will even try to show the linkages between them. You know, this is you're trying to come up with an analysis where you're showing the complexities. You're showing the complexities in the links. So how your essay becomes very multi-dimensional over here. Not everyone is able to think this way. Okay. So crisis faced in India, is it moral or economic? You can't give just one single answer. It's moral, sir. It's economic, sir. No, it's not. There is one temptation in all of us, that we want things to be unidimensional. We want just one single answer. We want just one single cause. So this monocausal analysis, that this is the reason or this is the reason. No. Why should there be only single cause? There could be multiple causes. There could be multiple things. All the factors influencing one other. So show that dimension. Okay? Clear with this part? Now, when you discussed all this part, in the synthesis, at the end, when you are trying to conclude or give some way forward, what all suggestions you can do? In suggestions, think about this. There is economic problem also that you have to accept. There is moral problem also, that also you have to accept. And now build a solution which can deal with both of them. For example, one solution could be ethical governance. When it is ethical governance, if countries run through those fundamental principles, then the government or the administration, they will focus on ethics as well as economy, because without economy they're not doing what people are supposed to, means what people are supposed to be provided as a service. So ethical governance is needed where justice as an idea prevails. And when we talk about justice, it would be political justice, economic justice, social justice. All these ideas will come into picture. Yes, this is the solution. The crisis is there. Now the time is you show the solution. This is the solution. All these crises will go. Or you talk about ethics of care, which we discussed in ethics, right? That policy makers are supposed to become very empathetic or very compassionate towards the vulnerable population. So here you show empathy-led policy making. That could be one solution. You will not get such problems then. Or you talk about value-based education, make good citizens. If there are good ethical citizens, there will be economy which is ethical economy, there will be state which is ethical state. So all these things can be your synthesis. So in synthesis, what you are doing is, first of all, is it moral? Yes, it is moral. Is it economic? Yes, it is economic. Is it just moral or just economic? No. It is somewhat mix up. Somewhere this one is influencing this side, or somewhere this one is influencing this side. And when you look at all this complete picture, now you can tell that, sir, there is a solution wherein you can deal with this, both of them. Okay? Getting the point? Any doubt on this particular essay? No? Okay. Now this one we'll discuss. All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Yesterday also I had just briefly discussed about this. Right now we'll cover it up. Okay. So what you can think about this essay? If we think about the dimensions, all it takes for the evil means the bad people, right? The bad people. Now you tell me, if bad people are supposed to win, good men are supposed to do nothing. It's the same essay, don't you think? Somewhere we are, just a second. Here you must be feeling this think that somewhere essay themes are either sometimes repeating or the theme is getting reflected in different essays. So for example, here we were talking about inaction, right? In this particular essay, we were talking about the idea of inaction. So similar thing we can observe in this essay too. Now, can you tell me how you can introduce this essay, if you have to introduce, or if what dimension can you think about it? Let's discuss the introduction part tomorrow. So I'll specifically talk about introduction and all. But if not introduction, what all you can think about in the dimensions? You can talk about inaction, right? When good men do nothing, when good men are enacting, what will be the consequence? You can think about that part. So first of all, this good men, they do nothing. They do nothing simply means they remain silent, right? So the first question logically that is coming in my mind is, why? They remain silent. Why? You can think about it. Maybe they have fear. Yes. Maybe they have lust for power. Maybe they have some problem with their passion, or they are concerned about the security of their family. Anything. Good men remain silent. Why? Maybe they lack knowledge. They are very ignorant. They are good people, but they are ignorant. They don't know. So they are silent. Anything. Here, all those micro dimensions or those examples, that is not a big deal for you to quote. That is not something very big deal for you. But this is the dimension can you open up. Why do they remain silent? Can you think about it? Okay. Now, first I thought why they are silent. Second, now I think about this dimension, the consequences. The adverse consequences of a good person remaining silent or doing nothing. What kind of consequences am I going to observe? Think about it. For example, if I get into the portion of history or polity, I think about Hitler, as I said, right? So Hitler's regime, what good men did? Good men did nothing. Jews, what Jews did? Jews were enacting, right? Then apart from that, if I have to take another example, let's say take example of corruption, take example of rapes taking place in your society. If good men do nothing, what will happen? If let's say a rape has taken place, now judiciary is not doing anything, then what will happen? The evil will win. That's what we are saying. Evil will triumph when good men do nothing. Here the good man is your judiciary. Fine. So you can think about adverse consequences. Maybe it can impact humanitarian initiatives. Look at the situation in Gaza right now. Look at Rohingyas. Rohingyas have become nothing but stateless citizens. They don't have their own state. So which country do they belong to? Questionable. We talk about Uyghurs. They are suffering. Nobody is helping. Good men are doing nothing. Okay? You can think about it. You think about the evolution of our society or social system. If good men would not have done anything, then Sati Pratha would have continued. Raja Ram Mohan Rai, if he would not have taken any stand, nothing would have happened. It would have continued. LGBTQ rights, they won't get rights if nobody talks about it. Simple. And everyone is unsafe. Everyone is unsafe. Climate change, terrorism, all these global concerns, whichever you can imagine. All this shows the action of evil people and good men doing nothing. And now if they don't do anything, everything will die. Everyone will die. Simple. Right? So all these adverse consequences are possible is something we can think of. At this moment, we can at least think of this part. Right? Then, if we have discussed this much, now the question, Does everyone remain silent? Now this could be yes or this could be no. Answer is no. Everyone doesn't remain silent. Some people certainly speak. For example, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, as I gave the example, he spoke, right? He spoke. Some people speak. Now think about this dimension. When they speak, what are the consequences that they face? When good people, they speak or they take action, even that is not an easy thing to do. What kind of consequences do they suffer? First of all, think about that part. Then entire society, what will be the consequences? Obviously, in this case, those will be very positive consequences in this case. That you can discuss, that you can think of. And then in this particular essay, we can specifically bring in this present context. Now, it's not like in the different dimension only you have to show the present context. While writing this, you can directly mention some examples from the present context, or you can separately mention. So right now, if you want a democracy to sustain, there is some role played by media. But when media is not interested in saving democracy, when media, good men do nothing, that sets very nicely in media becoming silent sometimes. Silent, not questioning authority. If media becomes silent, good men are doing nothing. If opposition becomes silent, is not doing what this opposition is supposed to do, then again evil will win. Are you getting this point? Opposition not speaking, media not speaking, these are the worst signs of democracy turning into a dictatorship or totalitarian regime. For sure, we can see that trend happening. If this happens, so you can show this present time relevance. And that's how you can bring in the importance of this responsibility or your duty for sake. Duty or idea of dharma. Can you bring it? Can you bring in all the matter to this conclusion? That dharma is important, duty is important. Everything goes wrong because of good men doing nothing. So it is the job of good men to do something so that this evil doesn't win. Okay? So bring in with examples, you can talk about all these things. Now, please ask if you have any doubts on this, or if you want to know much about all these things. Yes, any kind of confusion, any kind of doubt related to the structuring part and all. Yes, please ask if you have any doubts. Anything means whatever we have discussed till now. If we go back to the earlier slides, we discussed this, not all who wander are lost. This particular essay, we got to know how we can, deconstruct an essay, how we can get to know the meaning of that essay, and we tried that thing on these essays so that we get to know how we understand or interpret the essay, right? And then we started with the structuring part. We understood the way of structuring essays which involve thesis statement, wherein we can go for antithesis, and then we can decide the synthesis part. And then we reach to this compare contrast part, wherein we have two different variables involved. So two different stuffs. So how we can come up with the linkages between these two and not get into the temptation of monocausal analysis. Monocausal means one single cause. No, we'll get into multiple causes, multiple, like the complexity of the issue. We'll show that complexity. So that I try to discuss here. And then we have discussed this particular essay. Any doubt, any confusion? Because we'll just stop with this part only. Tomorrow we'll talk about some introduction part, conclusion part, and I'll discuss more essays tomorrow so that you further get a good clarity, because with discussions you will understand how you can write better essays. Okay? Yes, please ask if you have any kind of doubt. Or I suggest you keep on writing, at least for these 2-3 days you can write some essays, so that what any kind of doubt you're getting while writing, anything about the presentation part, anything about conveying the thoughts on the paper, that you can at least discuss with me in case you have any such doubt. Any confusion till now? Not from this, but anything related to essay. Yes, please ask. Okay then, so we will wrap up the session for today. So I'm trying to cover up as much as possible, and the idea is to ensure that you people become capable enough to at least understand what UPSC expects from you and what you exactly need to do. Okay, do this thing, practice as many essays as possible, at least for now. If not, try before the lecture you can write at least one essay. Even if you are not able to show it to me right now, but at least understand the problems you are facing, at least understand what kind of issues you are personally facing while writing any of the essay. Okay, and come up with that problem so that I can give you some insights about that. Okay, rest, we've done good. So next we will cover up in the next lecture. So thank you so much. We'll meet in the next lecture.